Welcome back to not just the first Grand Prix in Italy of the year, not just the race that's not flooded out this time, not just Imola, but we are going to the Formula 1 MSC Cruisers Gran Premio del Mare in Italy, del Emilia Romagna 2024.
Hey, got it first try.
Hey!
Congratulations. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
We are back to Imola, a track that I think a lot of us were disappointed to have so washed out last year. And much like Hulkenberg, who I know has actually said he's really excited to come here, I'm quite excited to come here.
Yeah.
Are you excited to come here? What are you thinking?
Yeah, F1's great, but I'm more excited. F2 and F3 are back, baby. That's what I'm excited about.
It's F3 as well.
Yeah.
I know F2 was back, but F3... Oh, brilliant.
It's going to be good stuff.
Big weekend of racing.
So, yep.
I think we're additionally hyped here. I don't know if I mentioned it in the back of another video, but, you know, we recently actually had WEC here, which was a fantastic event.
Yep.
And there's actually been a lot of Aussie sim racing in this circuit recently. So it's a very popular circuit for all sorts going on. And we're excited to, as I say, I think we're excited to be here. Of course, coming off the back of Miami, where there was plenty of talking stories. And if that wasn't enough, there are a lot of teams that seem to be bringing a lot here.
Yep.
Even each of the big teams seem to have some kind of change here, some more than others, but I'm sure we will get into that. It's the first weekend we've had now off of 2 sprint weekends where we don't have a sprint here.
Yeah.
Even though this circuit has normally had a sprint in the past, which is a little odd, but we do have a traditional free practice 1, 2, 3.
I think because,
and so this is...
Because they've got F2 and F3, you can't have a sprint weekend with F2 and F3.
That's
I don't
true.
think. That just seems like too much.
That would be quite the weekend.
Yeah, so...
So we should see really teams maximizing, bringing a lot here, especially because they can make use of those 3 practice sessions. And in terms of a circuit, if you think about it, it's probably a good circuit to test cars. It has similar characteristics to Japan, where you have, you know, fast corners, slow corners, heavy load, light load, very slow chicanes, big curves, small curbs. It's a pretty good test track, actually, if you think about it.
And especially a circuit, like a purpose-built circuit coming into the European season, where there's a lot of these types of tracks.
Yeah, true. And as we say, there has actually been a lot of racing here. This track is very popular. It's used most weekends for something. So... unless the weather is dire and most of that is washed away, it should actually be a pretty rubbed-in track already. And with F2, F3 other series, that track's going to grip up real quick.
Yep.
And we can normally see some pretty daring, quick lap times around here. But we should get into what teams are bringing. I guess one of the teams we heard about first was Ferrari. They've actually done a filming day ahead of this where it was first spotted some of their major upgrades. So obviously the fact they're cashing in on a filming day shows that they are bringing quite a lot here.
Yeah.
Do you have the specific list of what they're bringing? I saw there's a few notes, but I didn't copy it. I think there's a pretty big restructuring of the inlet. I've seen people saying that they've changed to the Alpine style, which has some people going, why is it Alpine that they're changing to?
Yes.
I'm sure it's just what it looks closest to, but still interesting that people aren't saying, you'd expect them to go, oh, they now look more like the Red Bull. They actually look a bit like other cars on the grid. So
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Apparently it's a whole new philosophy. So like the way they've designed it, it doesn't seem like they could bring... I guess the reason why they're bringing one big one, it's Imola home race, so they kind of want to do it, you know, big upgrade. Haha, look, we're fast. We're going to challenge Red Bull, maybe. Who knows? But it does seem like that because all the parts that they were replacing sort of feed into each other, like because of the airflow over this section of the car, we had to replace because it affects the turbulence, you know, slightly further back, you know, the rear of the engine cover, or, you know, the things on the mirrors I saw they had replaced as well. So all of it kind of makes sense to do it all at once, and they probably had it ready for Miami, but they were, I would say, one of those teams that want to have the few practice sessions to really get on top of, obviously, plus the filming day that they had as well.
Yes,
just to sort of shake it down.
Here. Yep. And I guess it'll be interesting to see whether McLaren continue to have strong form here. I mean, as we say, they did, of course, win last weekend, but their overall performance, I think, still left a little bit to be desired. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they come in here with a car they now can understand better, and if they can have a solid weekend, a really strong qualifying, and then a really strong race to see how that pans out. It might be good to see how big or small that gap actually is at that front.
Yeah, and Piastri will be getting the full, because he only had half the package at Miami. He'll now
Correct,
getting the
and they
full
are
package,
bringing that here. So
and apparently
hopefully, given that he did have such a good weekend, that this turns in he's nipping at the performance that Norris is, or he's even matching that. I guess we hope.
Well, they were saying apparently the performance gained, or the performance delta that he was losing to Norris, like his actual delta compared to what he should have been losing, he was actually closer than they expected. So it's he's obviously still maximizing what he's been given. So once he has the full package, he might be, like you say, right on Norris, or potentially even quicker. They're thinking it could be a strong circuit for them. I think 2022 they had Norris got a podium. I think he got P3 to the Red Bulls. Right. So they seem pretty confident coming into this weekend as well. So
relative probably stronger than they were to some previous circuits they've been to, which they've said should have been some of their weaker circuits. Yes. So this should be at least better than what we've been to recently. I guess it's also interesting not to look ahead too far, but there's some consideration for Monaco in a back-to-back weekend. And of course, that can be a very different circuit. So as well as teams are evaluating parts here for this weekend and other more traditional upcoming circuits, there may be some consideration for Monaco, especially given this could be where you could snatch a victory or set your car up differently. So we may see teams maybe trying a few different things with expectation of a slower circuit. But that's for next weekend out anyway. I think fairly recently it was seen that Red Bull is bringing something here as well. I didn't see many details. I think it was when the Helmut Marko, when he was talking about the results from Miami, and he just said, look, even if we were a little bit worried, we are bringing a few things that we think should help us. So much to the dismay of fans who were hoping that Red Bull wasn't going to get anything new for a while, especially as they brought a few rounds in already, quite a sizable update. It seems they have enough here that actually could make a small difference. And we'll see how big
they're pretty strong here as well. Like I think they
were last time out. It's a pretty good track for them, and I know Max likes it here. Of course, his battle with Hamilton here was pretty decisive. He put a big foot down despite not starting on pole, taking that lead early and then really just showing how it's done. So he does like it here. But as we say, we'll just have to see how it happens. I feel like this is probably it'll be a good indication of the rest of the year. It could be another dominance, and I think we'll really just give up on the idea for much competition. Or there could be some competition. I think another team that is also bringing some further updates here is Mercedes, and I think this is a good weekend to see if they can touch back to that gap, or if they're just not near the top at all, and then I think we just consider them really on that back foot for the rest of the year. Yep,
I agree, because this is apparently the second half of their upgrade package that they brought in Miami, where they said, Miami, they actually said their updates were working as intended, so...
Yes.
You want to hope
not what you want to be hearing.
You want to hope their second half works as intended as well.
Yes.
So, maybe they're trying to test their correlation, so then he brought some of the things that if we know the correlation's wrong or whatever, we're not we're not going 10 places backwards down the grid. It's not so sizable that we're going to drop to the back at the Miami race. So maybe we don't see necessarily a difference in performance gain or loss from their upgrades, but maybe they've had such problems with correlation in their simulated stuff that maybe they just wanted to get something and be like, okay, is this matching the data that we have?
Yes.
It is. Fantastic. Let's bring the rest of it the next race, and then maybe we'll see the full fruits of the labor. So...
And I think it may even ultimately be a 3-part package that might have been talking about down. There's a little bit they're even saving for the following weekend, which would further lead to that story. And maybe they're leading up because they're trying to have a good result in Monaco. Maybe that's more a car they're building towards. But,
sure.
It'll still be a telling weekend for them, for sure. If they are still battling to even make it into Q3 with any sort of confidence, it might just tell the story for the rest of the season. So it's probably a big weekend for them. And as we say, for the general trend of the season, I think this could set some stories and hopefully more positive stories than negative. I think there's a few tidbits on smaller teams. I wouldn't be surprised if almost every team brought something here, but I guess the headlines are always going to be taken by the big teams. I know that Sauber were planning to bring their update to their wheel gun system here to hopefully have it as a thing of the past. Whether that involves some other just changes as well, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think they said it was among other things, but yeah, obviously the pit stop issues are the one thing they really want to get.
Yes. That's what you really hope they get that sorted.
Yeah.
And as we say, I imagine most other teams will likely bring something here, even if it's for preparation for Monaco or future circuits.
I saw Haas were bringing their sort of second half of their upgrades that they brought in Shanghai as well. So, yeah, and like you say, I'd be surprised if pretty much every team didn't bring something. So,
yep. Well, speaking of the Haas, given that F2's on site, we do have Ollie Behrman, who will be taking the seat of Mr. Almost Disqualified Kevin Magnussen in FP1.
Yep.
No, he's not been disqualified yet, but wouldn't that be funny timing if he did something and then Ollie Behrman had the practice to get up to speed
Could happen.
in lieu of the race?
Could still happen.
Yeah, so I guess it'll be good to see what he does. I mean, this is, given the move from Hulkenberg, it's almost a shoo-in he's going to get that drive anyway.
This is the first, so they only need to run rookies for 2 weekends, right? He's been planned for 6, and this is his first of 6.
Yes.
That's telling in and of itself. So,
yes. This does lead into, I think, some conversation we had about Magnussen, and as much as he's doing all right.
Yes.
Yeah, new management, looking at the rookie, looking at maybe having to have 2 new drivers, maybe get one in sooner rather than later. So I wouldn't be surprised if, although this is just because F2 is in town and they may be testing some new bits, they will obviously be checking internally to say, right, we've heard good things from you, from your bosses at Ferrari. Let's actually see it, because there's more than just you being a rookie that we're enjoying having out on the track right now.
Definitely.
So we will have to see what that turns into. And of course there will be, I'm thinking no doubt in the pre-race briefing, there's going to be talk about what happened with Magnussen penalty points. I'm sure there may be something that will come out of that from a race directive. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But he is close to actually breaching something here, so he
I
would
would
have
be
to be a little
so
careful.
surprised if he doesn't get a race ban at this point.
Yeah,
I'd
given
be
how
really
long it
surprised.
is to burn those points off. Even, every driver throughout the year basically accrues something. It's very rare for a driver to have nothing. So for it to be that high, it's almost like impossible to avoid in a way. And knowing that's in the back of his head, it's like when you've only got one more corner cut until you get your penalty. It's like you almost always get it, because then you're just overthinking it, right?
I find it very hard to believe that Magnussen will not get a race ban. So I think Behrman should be basically ready at any point to step in.
There isn't a 0% chance of rain. It's not too high, but it looks like there will be a fair amount of overcast around, and so it could potentially do something.
There was talks of maybe some thunderstorms on the Sunday afternoon.
Yes.
So I don't know what the update's been since then, but there is
when I
rain
checked,
around.
I think it was sitting at 25% for
It's
that afternoon.
already gone down.
So it still could be around. And to be fair, we used to always talk about, there's a 70% chance of rain, and then it never hit. But there was a fair trend. I think it was even last year we had a lot of weather around.
A lot of rain.
So I think that's all I really had. Did you have anything else?
I had a couple of other things. This is the first race we'll see Leclerc's new race engineer as well. So
good point.
They've finally binned, we'll come back to you, we're checking.
Yes.
Yeah,
Moved him
the
onto a
comedy.
different role.
Yes, yeah. Just go sit in the corner for a while. Leclerc's been pretty vocal on the radio about how it doesn't seem like it's working there in terms of the communication.
Yeah.
So probably
it's
a good
sometimes
thing.
weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear a driver and an engineer, and it doesn't seem like they work at all, and then you actually learn out that they're best buddies, and they do work.
Yeah.
But whether it's coming from Leclerc, whether it's coming from Ferrari, this definitely sounds more like they've met in the middle. I guess unlike the prior weekend where Bottas's engineer changed and it sounded like it was very one-sided and not agreed by the driver. So this sounds more like maybe it was planned for a while.
Sure.
And I guess we'll have to see whether that bodes any positive results beyond that. So
Definitely, yeah. The only other thing I had, which I guess it'll only affect people who watch the Sky Sports commentary as well. This is, I think, the first of 3 races this year that Crofty's not going to be commentating. And it's also going to be the only weekend he's missed since he started at Sky Sports. So, which is why I thought it was relevant to point out, because he's always there. So, yeah, he's cutting back the workload a bit. So
what's the name of the guy? Is it
Harry Benjamin? Yes,
that is his name.
Yeah. So he's been.
I don't know if you know him that much.
I don't know. I know of him. Like, apparently he was the main guy who did the F1 Kids broadcast.
Oh,
as
sure.
I think he was the one, like the non-kid that was.
Yes.
Doing the commentary. So, but I think he's also done some like F2, F3 stuff in the past as well. So
I think he does. I know he's often there for BBC, because in the BBC podcast I listen to, yes, he's almost always on that as the co-host.
Gotcha.
With Jenny Gow. So it was interesting, because I guess there's a few contenders for who may replace Crofty. I mean, it's a different conversation. I was actually talking about this with my dad last week. It was interesting. And how you have like Alex, who I guess is an obvious replacement.
Channel 4 though.
Yeah, I mean, he does he's Channel 4, but then he also does like the official commentary, I think, as well for F1 TV.
He does, yeah.
And he's always done F2 and F3, but
yeah, true.
As I say, I think Harry Benjamin has also done it, and I'll premise it, I think he's also good. I think he and Alex are just as good as each other. I think he's a very good live commentator, because I guess what Crofty does is he does the play-by-play, and then he generally has someone on the side, which is more the analyst.
Yeah.
So it's a hard role to replace. I mean, this was initially the Murray Walker role that we had a few people go through.
Yeah, the impossible role to replace, right?
Exactly. And really, Crofty has been the voice of that for a while. So it's a pretty big statement. Eyes, I guess ears more so than eyes will be on him. But I think even if most people haven't heard from him, I think he's quite good, and I enjoy him quite a lot. So
I'll look forward
hopefully, it'll be interesting. I don't know if it is Martin that's partnering him, because it'd be weird, because normally it's Martin is the one that's out and there's other people rotating to replace him. But this is a bit of the flip side. But I guess that'll add something interesting as well. We'll see how it goes.
A little bit of a different dynamic. So
we hope that Crofty enjoys his rest, because he deserves it. Wow, he's been to a lot of races.
Right he does. Yeah. Man.
Yep. We'll see how they go.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I just say, seriously, watch the F2 and the F3. It is, if you're not watching it, you're missing out.
At least the F2, I'm actually dead excited for it. I'm so excited.
Also, if you've never watched the F2 and you don't know who you want to root for, I found this video while scrolling through looking for bits of information. Ritomo Miyata was on his way to a fan signing, and he got stuck in traffic, and he was like, he made a tweet. He's like, I realized I wasn't going to make it. So he got out and he ran the next 5 kilometers to make it there on time. And I'm just like, oh, what a guy. What a guy. So you should support that man. I think he's for the Ronin Motorsport.
Ronin, yes.
So yeah.
And he has a pretty cool backstory as well. So he's showing a fair bit of pace.
Yeah, he started a bit shaky in the start of the season, but I think he's coming into his own.
Which you expect, given his history, and he's coming from a completely different style of car and everything.
Yeah,
and yet he's poking his nose up there. So that's a good shout. I like that. Well, that's a good shout. I guess, speaking of points, I should just concede in regards to our competition, because I went back.
I don't even know what. Because we didn't.
The whole conversation we had from China was I needed to get my act together, and it's looking not great. So I guess we need to recap. So the difference, we had a difference of 4 points, 9 to 5.
That's pretty.
We didn't get anything from the sprint because Hamilton got P2. Which good luck to whoever would have guessed that. That was very wide angle.
Never in a million years.
We both did get the max victory. But you actually ended up getting a whole point for Checo P3, whereas I had him in P2. So you actually extend by another half a point. So you're on 11 and I'm on 6.5.
You did say the Checo thing was going to come back and bite you, where you said, you're going to get him back to P2.
It's like, I don't understand the man. Not that I want to over talk about him. It's like one weekend he's the clearest P2 ever. And it's like, well, then obviously you just pick him for P2.
Obviously.
And then he's like 5th. And it's like, what the hell are you doing?
He's like, yeah, that's
So
about the
now-
pace he had. And then your second is like, yeah, of course it's where he's supposed to be. And then he's,
I know, and then
Yeah.
you just go, why did I put him off the podium?
Yeah.
He just he's in a Red Bull. And then consistently 2 weekends in a row now that we've had, he's nowhere again.
yeah,
So,
he's an enigma at the moment.
I guess we need to get our randomized place before we actually jump into the podium. I
Yeah.
think actually a really tricky podium, this one,
I
given
haven't
everything that
got-
we've said.
Any notes on this? Because I've fucking got no idea. No clue at all.
I want to... P13, is that another one?
Oh, it might have been.
Well, there's more races in the season than there are numbers, so I guess I can go back and...
Yeah, okay. This might be a double up, but I guess I'll go P13.
Ricardo, Man's not got it. We haven't talked about him. I don't think Man's got it.
But he got P4 in the sprint in Miami.
Sorry, I should say Liam Lawson, right? Because he's replacing him as
of
this
course,
weekend,
yeah,
right?
yes, yeah.
So
all the reports.
I'll say
yeah.
Ricardo, else if he's gone, then Lawson.
Slash
I pick
Lawson.
two
I'll
drivers,
give
there
you. No, you know what?
done.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'll allow it.
Do I get more points if it's Lawson? If I commit to it now?
If you commit to it, I'll give you 5 points. Straight up.
This is
you
the
know what?
comeback strategy.
You win the competition if you pick Lawson and he's in the
You know
car
what?
and he gets P13. You know what?
Actually, Ollie Behrman, B13. That's the answer.
Ah,
That's your guess. Sorry, I took it right from
damn,
there.
that would have been a good shout as well because it could happen. That's probably more likely happening.
Ricardo. Anyway, that's...
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He just screams P13 at the moment. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Blood, but I don't have faith.
Yeah, no, I don't have faith either. He got a good P4, but unless he's doing that not specifically
yeah.
that, but unless he's getting in the top 10 every single week like Tsunoda is doing and or
Yes.
threatening to do, then yeah, it's not that ain't it, fam. I'll say Stroll, I guess, is a P13.
Oh, that's not a bad shout.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we should get onto the podium, especially as I'm apparently dying of hiccups over here. So obviously my body clock is telling me to hurry
Yep.
up. Anyone but Max for P1?
I think I still have to go Max P1 just because of, yeah, I think if it's close, even if he does still win this one and it's close, that puts into question the rest of it. But
It could change the story in the
Yes,
future, but
yeah.
there's not enough right now
no, not right now.
to strongly bet against it.
No, the two races that he's been not so strong. One, obviously, he crashed out, not crashed out, but he had a failure.
An issue outside
yeah.
his entire control.
Exactly. So, and he was potentially weak there, but we don't really know. He could have still won it
Biggest
anyway.
question mark of the season.
And then obviously Miami, where he didn't win it, he was still pretty damn strong. But it was more about the tires than anything. So it's still like, who really knows? In terms of the raw pace of the car, the Red Bull is still the fastest. He likes it here. He's going to be P1 unless McLaren or Ferrari make like a stupid amount of gains, or Perez decides he wants to, rise to a higher plane of existence or something. Then
yeah.
I can't see anyone but
You
Max
can't
winning
yet,
right now.
but we're
Not yet.
hoping that of next weekend onwards we could be.
There's still a little bit of hope there. And if I'm wrong on this one and I lose, the full point, you know what? That's fine by me. I'm more than happy to lose that. So.
You're not going to lose sleep over it. Again,
No.
we've got the same thing. Well, I guess as we're going to get into it, really matters for the other two. Maybe I'll go P3. I have Norris P3.
Okay.
Partly
Fair shout.
because I think from McLaren, he'll still be the stronger McLaren. I guess I'd prefer to just say I'm going to put a McLaren here than Norris, but
Yeah.
of course that would be gumming out, so I'm going to put one, I'll put him there. But I guess maybe I don't think he will necessarily be the best of the rest out in this weekend.
Okay.
So, yes. Which number do you want to go with from your side?
Well, I mean, I was going to put Norris P3, but I'll put Piastri P3 just to be different. 'Cause
Hey,
I think
good on ya!
Go Piastri P3.
So you do this, and then sure enough, he'll get it. And I'll be like, wow, why didn't I go for that? It was
Could
so
happen,
obvious.
Yeah. I think
Brilliant.
Piastri's pace in Miami is, I think, very... it's impressive given he didn't have the full package, the McLaren upgrade
Yeah.
package, and I think he was a real shoe-in to win the race had things gone slightly more his way. So,
For sure. Or pretty much a P2 guaranteed as well.
Yeah, yep, definitely.
how he was going.
He was right on it. So, I think it's probably not 50-50. I'd still probably pick Norris over Piastri, but I gotta change it, and I've got the.
If you're going to
the big
pick him any
lead,
race
yeah.
of the year, unless you're picking him for the first race of the year, this is probably the most confident you could be in him. So,
Sure.
and I appreciate the variance. I'll say I appreciate that I've taken the lead on that, but I don't think you're just guessing it for the sake of it, and it looks ridiculous. P2. I guess I, again, would just like to put a Ferrari here.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick which Ferrari driver because it feels like it could just go either way. Sainz starting the year so strong and on a roll, but I feel like Leclerc is close to now hitting his stride, and I still don't think that means that Sainz is weak. But then I also like the idea of maybe having a McLaren P3 and then a Ferrari P2 rather than just two Ferraris. So I guess I have to commit to one. I'll just go Leclerc of the two of them.
Okay. I was going to go Leclerc as well, so... Sorry, I can't put Sainz there.
Do you want me to swap them? Okay, then. Well, did you actually put him there? So you put Leclerc in P2. But then maybe I'll swap. We can have something different. I don't mind doing that. Because I erased it and kind of put it back. So...
He's put Hulkenberg in P2, you know.
No, Behrman. Aren't you following?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, no, Hulkenberg's in the... He's not replacing Hulkenberg.
That's true. Yeah, but maybe, I don't know. We'll go back to that old shtick about Rosberg replacing someone. We'll go back to that. Rosberg P2 in the Haas. There you go. Anyway. That's one for the OGs that remember that shtick. So, okay, then I'll change it because it really was a 50-50. And if you've gone Leclerc, then I'll just go Sainz. I personally think they are very equal at this stage, and it really could swing either way. It feels like the trend is one will have a good weekend when the other doesn't have the greatest weekend. And who knows, here it might be the same. Or they may both be chasing at the tails of Max, which we hope, but I guess we don't know. So, what are your thoughts? Have you actively put Leclerc here more in faith than on Sainz?
A little bit. I feel like they're still, like, particularly with a big upgrade package, they always say teams always say we don't upgrade a car towards a specific driver. It's bullshit. Leclerc is staying at the team post 2024. Sainz is not. End of last year when they went to Japan and Leclerc, obviously, they brought their upgrade to I think it was a floor upgrade that, you know, improved the rear end stability, and it made it more drivable for Leclerc, but made it less drivable for Sainz. I feel like every time they bring upgrades, they are favoring Leclerc. So maybe it's a little bit different because Sainz has been in such good form recently, but I think the fact that that Sainz is leaving at the end of the year, they have to take all this into consideration, and they have to try and, for lack of a better phrase, they have to try and keep Leclerc happy.
That's understandable. If they're going to listen to one driver more than the other for what they want, it could just be that it works for both of them. I mean, Sainz isn't that bad at being adaptable. Probably on the grid, he's one of the more adaptable drivers.
I'd say he's probably one of the best.
But Leclerc is generally considered one of the kings of adaptability as well. So even if this does change the car a bit, he's normally very strong to picking that up straight away and running with it, even if it might take Sainz an extra weekend or two to get used to it.
Also, especially like somewhere like Imola, where in the race it's kind of hard to overtake. There's not many overtaking opportunities. Leclerc is known for being really good over one lap pace. If they can get him a car that is, again, like it was late last year, super strong in qualifying, he can lock out a P1, which is something that Sainz has less success doing, pulling out the real god lap.
Improved recently, but Leclerc still has that history.
Yeah, the raw pace in the one lap for sure. So I think if their best chance is to try and get a car that can match the Red Bull on that one lap pace, try and get Leclerc on pole, and just hope that they can hold it to the end of the race, maybe. So, I don't know. It's a lot of things going on, and it's probably not even close to what they're thinking at Ferrari. But I think, like you say, Leclerc's starting to come into his own and understand the car a bit more. And he's gonna have his breakout race soon, I think. So why not? Why can't it be here?
I like your thinking. Well, I think we've done a thorough preview of this weekend, so we hope that you are all excited for a good weekend of racing, as we say, not just F1 but also F2 and F3, so it should be an absolute smattering of racing. We will be back afterwards to debrief it as always, as well as looking ahead to the mystical Monaco. But until then, we hope that you enjoy what should be a close weekend. Let us know your thoughts But otherwise, until next time, we're out of here. Goodbye.
Bye.